Hello, thank you for letting me present on my lesson plan for Jacqueline Woodson's Brown Girl Dreaming. I conceived this lesson as part of our unit on nonfiction. Black Girl Dreaming is Jacqueline Woodson's memoir of the first 10 years of her life, from 1963 to 1973. In her book, she covers quite a bit of the changes that took place as a result of the Civil Rights Act. This lesson plan introduces nonfiction text through the memoir. Students, this particular lesson plan is for day one of the nonfiction unit, especially for the Brown Girl Dreaming text. Students will start their lesson here in the Google Classroom that I created, where I've uploaded a number of the resources they will need. I encourage you to click on all these materials because this is where the materials that I created for the lesson live. They will get started with a journal prompt asking them to describe how this year's Thanksgiving was different because of the pandemic. I'm using this prompt in hopes that the students make the connection in terms of how current events influence their everyday life and how their memories of how current events impacted them help inform history. From there, I have the students work on an anticipation guide where I list a series of statements, some true, some false, asking the students to sort of mark down which ones they agree with and which ones they disagree with. This is a way for them to sort of activate their memory in terms of what they know in anticipation of the two poems they'll be reading for class. Following that anticipation guide, I go into a presentation that I did in conjunction with Pear Deck. One of the reasons I picked Pear Deck, and this is just one slide on the presentation, is because it allows the students to be interactive. I conceived this lesson plan as being taught as as part of distance education. So I'm trying to figure out how to maintain engagement in this class. Following the presentation, the students will then be asked to read the first two poems of the book. The first one titled February 12th, 1963. The second one, Second Daughter's Second Day. During their reading, they'll be encouraged to complete a 3-2-1 form where they write 3 things they learned, 2 things they found interesting, and 1 question they still have about the text. And they'll be encouraged to fill 1 out per poem. Once we've had a chance to complete, there are some discussion questions that I included in the presentation deck. After a period of discussion, the students will be invited to go back to their anticipation guide and see how they feel about the statements that they initially were asked to agree or disagree with. And then finally, as a after strategy and assessment, we'll do a whip around exercise. But instead of doing it in person, I'll ask them to write to respond to this question: why are the historical events and figures mentioned in Woodson's first 2 poems significant to Woodson? And that'll help me see if they're starting to make connections in terms of those essential questions that I listed in the lesson plan. Part of the reasons I picked the strategies that I did were because I thought they promoted critical thinking and were the best in terms of having the students connect with the text immediately. In terms of differentiating the lessons, one of the things that I would do is I would probably give some of the questions that are being asked throughout to those students ahead of time, so that they have time to consider those questions and so that they're prepared and able to reflect. I also created this slide, this slide, which is actually part of my slide deck. It's interactive. It has all the resources that the students would need to learn about the historical figures in those listed in those first two poems, biographical information about Woodson, some of the vocabulary that they'll need. One other thing I would encourage students, all students, but especially my SPED students, is to note any other words or vocabulary words that they would need to look up. In terms of English language learners, I would probably engage the English language learner teacher for tips in terms of how to differentiate this lesson. I think I would require a very close working relationship with that person. Anyhow, thank you for letting me share my lesson plan with you. I certainly hope that you enjoy it, and I look forward to your comments and ways in which I can improve it.